Well, welcome back to Behind the Mic Conversations of Hope. Today I am with Brandon Scott, who is a talented musician from Columbus, Ohio, who is on his way to a career in Christian music. However, Brandon needed to overcome some major obstacles to clear the way to that dream. You may have seen him on TLC series My 600-Pound Life. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great being here.
Absolutely. So we actually just recently connected. My son and his girlfriend were at one of your shows. And while they were there, she texted me and said, "You got to check out Brandon Scott." And so I immediately got online and found out a little bit about your story. So I really don't know much. I want to, along with my listeners, I want to have you share about you, where you're at, what you're doing, and so how are things going? How are you doing?
Yeah, everything is going great. I'm living out the very tip and beginning of my dream that God has just placed in my heart, and I'm loving every moment of it. The highs, the lows, they're all part of a greater goal. And even at the lowest moments, which are the toughest moments, there's some great experiences happening throughout those. So really enjoyed it. I went all the way from, living a life of death, really, to living out the best part of what God always had in store for me.
Yeah. So if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, when you started making some major changes in your life, you weighed 718 pounds. What led to that moment?
Yeah. So I don't know if there was a specific thing that led to me being at my biggest. My biggest was actually 686 pounds. On TLC, My 600-Pound Life, they do embellish the weight for a more dramatic appeal to the audience.
Sure.
I guess 718 probably hits a little harder. But part of my story is that I think it's important for the world to know that even at 686, which was my actual starting weight, there's no difference. You're dying. If you're at 686, You're dying. If you're at 718,
That's
you're
right.
dying. You're killing yourself. And that's a harsh reality that I didn't accept at first. So to your question, I don't know of a specific thing that led to that point. It was just a series of bad habits that turned into an out of control snowball effect for me. And that's another thing that while on that show, a lot of times the producers didn't want me to tell that part because it doesn't sound as dramatic as some sort of trauma that's happened to me to cause
Right.
that to happen. But here's why it's so important. For years, I watched that show, My 600-Pound Life. I watched this for years before I was on it. And it never hit home to me that I was one of them, that I was the same as those people. It never once occurred to me that I was the same. And some people may think that's just delusional, but the reason why it didn't hit home for me is because of all of that embellishment that happens on the show. A lot of it's real. A lot of it, people live those exact lives that you see. But when they embellish to the point where you have a full-time caretaker or don't have anyone taking care of you and you're living in filth and you can't use the restroom on your own, you can't do everyday normal things. When you're 686, as I was, and still doing all of those things on my own, still going out to church, going to the grocery store, going to work. I still worked every day. I took care of myself. And so therefore, it didn't hit home with me. It didn't register that I was just like them on TV because, hey, at least I'm not 718. Hey, at least I can go to the bathroom by myself and bathe myself and tie my own shoes, and all of these things I was able to do on my own made that very unrelatable. And so I didn't do anything about it until I kept growing and growing and growing and growing. It wasn't until at the time, my girlfriend Taylor, it wasn't until she just happened to be crossing through the living room as I'm watching My 600-Pound Life, and she saw her opportunity to just throw out there, you should apply to be on that show. And then she vanished from the room as fast as she could because out of fear of how I might feel
Yeah.
from that statement. But that was a life changing moment for me. That hit home when she thought that I
Mm.
was to the point where I could apply to be on that show. That just registered differently than anyone else who's ever cared about me, who mentioned something about my health.
Yeah.
That moment is what the turning point was and changed everything for me.
Well, and really, it's not like, I mean, we would watch that show and we would go, how do you even get there? But for you
Right,
and for everybody else, it's not like you wake up one day and you weigh 700 pounds or 686
right,
pounds. You know,
right.
it's a gradual process, and we all have something in our lives that we allow to slowly take us to places we don't want to go. A lot of
Correct.
those long-term things we don't even recognize ourselves. So it took Taylor just
Yep.
to slip in a room and make one statement. And that was one of my questions too, was when did you say, I need to change? And it sounds like it was that moment.
Yes, absolutely. It was just that moment. And, I never looked back from that moment. So this is, before I ever put the application in and auditioned and went through the whole grueling process of getting onto the show. My mind had already been made up. Like, it doesn't matter if I get on the show or not. It doesn't matter if the show is legitimate, if the doctor really helps. It doesn't matter. None of that matters to me. I have to change because she
Mm.
cared about me so much and I cared about her so much. And that
Yeah,
just hit me in a different way, in a different light. My mom has told me for years to try this show, try that show, or try this remedy, this method. And none of it, as much as she really cared about me, and I knew she really cared about me, my mom, none of it hit home the
sure.
same because,
Yeah,
sometimes it just takes the right person to say the same thing that
yeah,
other people were trying to tell you. And that was the defining
yeah.
moment for
So
me.
you mentioned that you went to church and you did most of those normal things.
Yes.
What was it like for you out in public? I saw a clip of you at the Columbus airport,
Hmm.
and you were just weeping. And so
Hmm.
tell us about some of the experiences you had. People aren't nice, and I think
Right.
that's one thing too. Is when we see somebody, we make immediate judgments about people. And can you talk to that and what you experienced?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So every single day, doing normal everyday activities, there was always this fear at all times, anytime I was in public, that someone was going to pass a look or even a comment to say something that was very hurtful. And it did happen often. Most of the time it was kids because kids don't know better and they're
Sure.
still learning and growing, and they see something that's very abnormal, they speak about it very loudly
Yeah.
and clearly, and you hear it. And
Yeah.
so it was mostly fear of that. But even sometimes there was even an adult or two that just couldn't prevent themselves from staring at you like you were a sideshow. And
Yeah.
so my fear was always that. My fear was always is that I always had to think about the doorways. What are they like? I had to think about the chairs. What are they
Mm.
like? Are there armrests on the chairs? Am I going to be able to fit in them? I could never just enjoy the moment or be in the moment of whatever I was doing, because there was always just a fear of some sort of negative result of me being out in public. So I didn't let it stop me from going out, but definitely 100%, it definitely held me back from going out as often as I wanted to. I did not want to go out on dates as often as, take Taylor out on dates as often as I didn't take her out as often as I wanted to, I should say. And that slowly dwindled down into us just doing a lot of home date nights,
Yeah.
because of that. And I never mentioned it out loud to her that was why, but I'm sure she understood. Like, going
Yeah.
out was just taxing. So even going
Yeah.
to church, something I like to, I don't know, I kind of bring it up every now and then with Taylor, even because it was just significant to me, where I had this thing to where if I was walking, I couldn't be doing any other thing, including talking, because it was just that extra little bit of effort. It was a struggle to have a
Mm.
conversation and walk at the same time because there was a lot of
Yeah.
energy that I was using to walk. And so
Yeah.
I had this little rule, like when she would ask me a question or start a conversation while we were walking from the car to the door or anywhere, I would hey, I can't talk right now. Let's talk when we get there. Let's get to the
Mm.
destination. I get a seat, catch my breath, and then we can talk. Um,
Yeah.
I can't even believe that it was that way. Or going to church, they have this little drop off area at the front where normally people use that for elderly or someone who's physically disabled. And I had to have her drop me off at that door because I couldn't walk from the parking lot to the front door.
Mm.
Even walking from that drop off area through the front door into the lobby where I could find a seat and wait for her to come from the parking lot, that was very taxing. So I mean, I thank God that's all behind me. Never looking
Yeah.
back on that.
Amen.
It's good to remember it. It's good to
Yeah.
remember it. It helps to continue on uh, in the right direction. So
Yeah. That's right.
having those memories.
You alluded to it. Your faith is really important to you. Can you talk about your faith
Yes,
growing up and where you are at right now?
absolutely. So I was very lucky to have always grown up in church. I don't remember a time that I wasn't in church, or a time that I didn't have just a very strong Christian background. Um, I think I was at even as a small child, I was at a Catholic school and everything. So there's always been God in my life, just in different ways.
Yeah.
But I think there's just a certain age that you just hit where you actually come to understand what it is you're actually doing, rather than just going with mom and dad to church.
Hmm.
So, and that for me happened at well, I want to say I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. Um, and there was a church I went to in Hilliard, Ohio, suburb of Columbus, called Cypress Wesleyan, and they had a youth group there. And I was very shy back then. I talk a lot now, but back then, back then I did not talk so much at all. And my mom made me go to this youth group, and really all I wanted to do was sit in the actual adult service with her. And she made me
Yeah.
go because she knew I was shy and wanted me to meet new, Christian friends and
Yeah.
just be like a normal kid. So I went to this youth group called the Storm, and I had Pastor Cujo was our youth pastor, and man, it was those were the days. Those were the greatest times in my life, just because there was so much amazing fellowship happening there, and I was just learning about God, and that just instilled a willingness, a wanting to continue to grow in Christ. And I'll never forget one of the youth sermons that Cujo did. Was saying, he was talking about being fully submerged in Christ, not just knee deep. How people like to
Mm.
go to the
Yeah.
pool and just get knee deep because it's cold, and it's
Yeah.
shocking to the body when they get in the water. So they get knee deep. They never really make it all the way in. Those people that come and they sit on the edge of the pool and just put their feet in the water, like, and not being that sort of Christian, the type of Christian that wants to go all the way in, it's fully
Yeah.
submerged, and so that
Amen.
that still resonates with me now. And I've just always, from that one Sunday of that one teaching, I've always just strived to be fully submerged in Christ. And so what that means for me, it, is to have Christ involved in every single decision that I make. And that's not always easy. That's not always easy, because sometimes you thinking that way, you discover, well, he's not in that decision, so you have to make a new one.
That's
You have
right.
to make a new decision. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That I think that is worth the podcast alone. Just that story, and when you have a pastor named Cujo, you know that there's
Yes.
something going on there. So
Right.
so yeah, I really love that, because I think that's the difference. And we see statistics today that such a high percentage of people that consider themselves Christians don't go to church, don't read their Bible, they don't pray. I think when I was growing up, it was very well accepted that most people were just Christian families. You know, a lot of people went to church. A lot of people had that belief. But I think we've seen, and this is the way the enemy works, is to creep in slowly, kind of like you gaining the weight. You creep in, it creeps in slowly, and all of a sudden you find yourself, if you stop and pause, and you find yourself like, where am I at and what am I doing? And I
Right.
think that to combat that, I think it really is, and the Bible, you know, especially through the Gospels and Paul's letters, speaks very highly of keeping Christ at the center of your life. And when you do that, and that is your standard, the stuff that you're hearing, the garbage that you're hearing and seeing and experiencing in our society doesn't affect you, or at least as much, and it keeps you grounded. So if you're not completely sold out to Christ, you can find yourself in dangerous places. And so
Yes.
I really like that, and I'll remember that as well. Thanks
Yeah.
to Pastor Cujo. That's a great
Yes.
story. So it's July 2022. How has your life changed? And what's next for Brandon Scott?
Yeah. Yeah. So life has changed so much. As part of my process of growing in and learning who I really was always meant to be, with the weight loss and the TV show, I very early on in that weight loss process, I started to gain this confidence that I never had in myself. I started to care about me. And by the way, I never did. I never cared about me. I spoke a
Sure.
lot of death over my own life because I just didn't believe in myself. I mean, I went from looking in the mirror and telling myself, like, it's a shame that you lived through the night, verbally out loud, to being in a place now to where I can't wait to see what's going to happen in this day. Today, I'm excited
Yeah.
about it. And it's like being born all over again and just having this refreshment of life. And so, where I'm at now, I'm living out my dream, working on my music career. I've always wanted to be a musician, a paid musician who can support a family based off of that music. And then in addition to that, that music, I've, chosen to go with the Christian genre because I just have all of this thanks to give back to God for sparing me. I don't,
Yeah.
I know I don't deserve it. I know that I didn't earn it, and all I can do is continue to try to earn what the life I've been given. And so, until He calls me home. And so, where I'm at now is just really trying to grow my career. I'm trying to always make sure I'm taking steps in the right direction, riding out those lows when there's not much going on, and waiting for the next high to come and climb up that hill. And so I have a lot of shows happening all the time, and in Nashville where I'm currently at, and I travel and tour as well. And I'm trying to take it to the next level to where all of those shows are full band. Right now, most of my shows are just acoustic sets,
Yeah.
and so I want to get to the point where they're all full band, and I want to end up working with some other amazing artists and playing on shows with the other artists and collaborations, and then hopefully have my own major tour sometime soon.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you just answered some questions as where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years from now? And why did you choose the Christian genre? I think, I think you're on the right path when your answer is because I want to give back to God what He's done for me. As I was scrolling through and looking and learning about Brandon Scott, I went to, of course, Wikipedia and went to the show, and I was so saddened reading through the seasons and the contestants, their weight, where they're at now. And I was scrolling down and has died, has died,
Yep.
has died, has died.
Yep.
So sad. And I know one of the things I believe very strongly is that if you are living and breathing, God has a plan and a purpose for your life. And I don't know where those people were at in their lives, who've passed away, but God had a plan for them. And I want to say, if you're listening to this right now, if you're not listening, then you wouldn't know, I guess. But if you're if you're listening right now, I just want to encourage you, and I know Brandon wants to encourage you to seek out the Lord in your life. Sit down, read His Word, talk to someone who is a strong believer, because God's got a plan for your life. And if you're not seeing His plan unfolding in your life, then you're missing out. And I think your story, Brandon, is a perfect example of that. Where you were, where you are now, it's such a light, a dark to light situation. And it's just you saying, enough is enough. I'm going to do something to change this, because I believe God's got a plan for my life, and He's using you now. And I'm so encouraged by that. So exciting. What do you want to say to those out there that are struggling? Whether it's maybe they're struggling with their weight, maybe it's another challenge.
Yeah, we all have something that we've dealt with, or may still be dealing with, that is, struggling and toxifying. There's strongholds. There's a song that I have that's released actually, called "Handcuffed to a Demon." When you put Christian artist in a song title, "Handcuffed to a Demon," it can be alarming at first. Like, wait, that sounds really odd for a song title for a Christian artist. What's going on in that song? I'm sure I haven't experienced it yet, but I'm sure there are people that just clicked next because they don't even want to speak the word demon. But demon does not have to be just an actual demon that we've read about in the Bible. Even a demon could be anything that has a stronghold on your life. And being handcuffed to that demon is something that, when you've dealt with addiction or of any sort, it could be a sexual addiction, it could be a drug or alcohol. In my case, it was a food addiction. If you are dealing with something like that, it's really, really difficult to fully break free from. And I'm not saying people haven't, but it's the acknowledgement that there's still that underlying element of being an alcoholic or addicted to drugs or whatever. You have to be careful all the time, because that demon will quickly pull you back in if you don't acknowledge it's there. I've overcome it, or I'm overcoming it.
Yeah.
And here's the ways that I have done that, or am doing that. And I'm going to always revisit this every day. Otherwise, like you had mentioned earlier, Mike, at some point you wake up and realize, oh, shoot, I'm fully back. I'm handcuffed to that demon still. So that song, I often begin that song with a short soliloquy about, this is your anthem to break free from that stronghold, from that demon. It's. I probably strayed away from the original question, but yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and that is such an encouragement to those who are out there. Your demon, as you said, was food.
Yes.
How much weight in the end? How much weight did you lose?
Yeah, that's a great question. I lost 500 pounds.
500 pounds.
500 pounds, and I still carry with me a very strong reminder. I have 75 pounds of skin to be removed. And I don't carry it on purpose because I need the reminder. Trust me, I'd rather go ahead and get it gone. But it's going to be 3 to 4 surgeries to get it all removed. And that's going to be a lot of time off work. And I'm just so excited with what God's doing in my life with music. Yeah. I can't bear to think to be off for that much time. If I were to have those surgeries consecutively with the heal time, it's going to take me a little over a year of not doing anything. So that doesn't seem as appetizing as what's going on in my life currently. So I just ride with it, and it actually is a reminder, because even with that, a lot of people don't notice it or say anything to me about it, but every now and then someone will notice and be like, "Man, you must have lost a lot of weight," because they see the skin. And or just me myself, and when I'm getting dressed in the morning and stuff. It's a reminder of where I've come from. So I've learned to live with it. It's not a big deal to me, but yeah.
So those are your scars. We all have
Right.
scars that we go through life with, and scars are a good reminder. Keeps us grounded,
Oh
and
yeah.
hopefully we'll get rid of that someday. But in the
Yes.
meantime, like you said, it's a great reminder to all of us that we have scars, and those scars don't have to be sad things. They can be great reminders of where we've been, and that we're making
Right.
progress. So, Brandon, I saw earlier you had a guitar with you there. I would love to.
I
I
do.
would love. I would love to hear something from you,
Yeah.
knowing that we're not in a studio, so it's not going to sound as great
Right.
as it would. But tell us what you're going to play for us, and a little bit about it.
Sure. Well, I kind of thought I would like to sing a song called "Thank You," because I'm very thankful to be on the show here. I'm very thankful for what God has done in my life, and this song just brings a lot of joy to my heart. And my hope is that it does the same for listeners. Um, just to express that gratitude in the way that God has gifted me. So God has given us all gifts to share with the world. This is just my version of the same gift that He's instilled in everyone. So this is called "Thank You." Lord, I want to thank you for all that you're giving me. I don't deserve your mercy, Lord. God, I want to thank you. I'm so thankful for the things that you've done for me. It's undeniable that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Got your hand on my shoulder, you're guiding me through all stormy weather. Yes, I'll lean on you, so I'll step where you step. Yes, I'll go where you go, and from this day forward, everyone will know. Lord, I want to thank you for all that you're giving me. I don't deserve your mercy, Lord. And God, I want to thank you for breathing your life in me. And now I know I'm purpose, Lord. I really want to thank you. The time I've wasted won't compare to what I've left. Whoa, this life I've tasted tells me I'm never turning back. Now that I've trusted that you do love me, I know that I'm chosen. For you I will lead. Yeah, my weight has been lifted, my eyes have been opened. I'm sharing my story so everyone can see. Whoa, whoa, Lord, I want to thank you for all that you're giving me. I don't deserve your mercy, Lord. And God, I want to thank you for breathing your life in me. And now I know I'm purpose, Lord. I really want to thank you. Yeah, yeah. I know you're the one who sacrificed everything you had in life just so that I could break my chains. You closed them and then you opened doors with everything we need and more. I just want to say, I just want to say, yeah. Lord, I want to thank you for all that you're giving me. I don't deserve your mercy, Lord. It's called Thank You.
Wow.
Appreciate
That was
that.
awesome. I love it.
I appreciate it.
Take my money,
Yeah, that's
man. That was great. All right. So my next question is, where do we get your music?
yes. You can download on any streaming platform. Spotify seems to be the most popular one, but
Hmm.
any streaming platform you can find my music. So right now, the only thing released is the "Handcuffed to a Demon" song.
Yeah.
My next one is called Buffer. That'll be out in a couple of months. And
Okay.
so that song is just about no matter how tough you think you are and how strong a Christian you think you are, the truth is we all still sometimes need that cushion to our heart, and or that buffer to your
Yeah.
heart. And it talks about how God is that buffer. So for me, every time something's about to hit me hard, I know it would have hit a lot harder
That's
if God
right.
wasn't there
Yeah,
buffering the
that's
blow.
good.
I'll
That's
tell you,
good.
it's it would have been a different story if he wasn't that buffer. And so it's just a little easier when something does hit me to feel and understand like, hey man, good thing God was there for that, because
Yeah.
Lord knows what it would have been without him.
That right there is a great testimony. It's so true.
Yeah.
All right. Where can listeners learn more about you? Social media, website, anything. Where can we connect with you?
Sure. So on social media, Facebook, you can find me at Brandon Scott 600 Pound Life. I haven't changed that name over because I think it's a great way for two different audiences to come together and
Yeah.
see what I'm about and where I'm going.
Yeah.
Then on Instagram, you can find me at @the_Brandon Scott. I chose that, by the way, because there was a fake one messaging people on my behalf, and I, I had to put this the real one. I'm
It
the real Brandon
happens.
Scott. So
It
the real,
happens.
yeah, the real _ Brandon Scott. TikTok, I'm bmusic85. I'm just starting to join in on TikTok. I'm not really sure what I'm doing there yet, but I'll figure it out. And then my website is to be announced sometime very soon. I'm actually working on it as we speak. It's in the works.
Awesome. Do let me know when that comes out, and we'll get that out there
Okay.
for you so our listeners can share it
Sure.
as well. Awesome. Brandon, we wish you the best. I know that God will do great things for you, and I'm sure that we will meet up soon. And you have
Yes.
an open invitation to come back anytime you want.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate you.